Okay,
presentation.
Yes. Okay. So thanks everyone for joining us today. Welcome to this webinar. I've got a training webinar with Linnea and Henning from Urkund. So we're going to go through the new interface, but also some new developments that are coming up or that have happened recently. So before I pass over to them, just a couple of housekeeping things. There's a chat box, so if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box and we'll try and answer them when it's convenient, when it fits in, or at the end of the webinar. There's also the Q&A if you prefer to put your questions in there. It's completely up to you. I'll look at both of them. I am recording the webinar, and if you guys have slides, I can share them as well with everyone afterwards. So you don't need to take lots of notes. I'll also send them to everyone along with the recording and everyone who's registered, so you can watch it in their own time. But yeah, we've just renewed the agreement with Urkund for another 3 years. So most of the people here are existing subscribers, or you might be interested in subscribing in future. So there's lots of information on the website as well, but hopefully this will give you a bit of an introduction. Okay, so I'll pass on to Henning and Linnea. Thank you.
Thank you, Romy, very much. My name is Henning Sall, and I'm head of global expansion at Urkund.
My name is Linnea, and I work with partners as a partner manager at Urkund.
We are very glad that you invited us to tell you a little bit more about Urkund. Eiffel, we've had an agreement with the past 3 years. It's been a fruitful collaboration, and we're very happy to extend this collaboration for another 3 years. For Urkund, Eiffel is the perfect partner for us to work with in order to establish Urkund in new remote markets, in especially emerging markets, where we don't have that much presence as of today. And the issue of plagiarism needs to be spread. The awareness needs to be raised globally, and institutions all over the world have a lot to gain from actually implementing a plagiarism detection system. We will start by presenting Urkund in general terms for around 10 minutes. Then we will dive directly into the Urkund user interface and our new View 7 analysis report view. And we are very happy to receive any questions. I think it would be good if we take them towards the end of the webinar. We will try to cover the most important aspects. Please place the questions in the chat or in the Q&A plugin. So, a little bit of introduction. Urkund today has customers in 76 countries around the globe. As you can see on the map to the right there, the color scale actually represents the number of institutions we have in the different countries. So it's fair to say that our home market, Sweden, is still our major or largest market, and the Western Europe countries. But an exception in the East is India. We have around 4,000 institutions as customers, and a good list of renowned institutions, as you can see in the logotypes to the left here. We were founded in the year 2000 by people from professors from Uppsala universities here in Sweden. And we still today have a strong legacy from the academics in that many colleagues here, they have a background as teachers and educators. A great milestone this year and throughout the history was that we won the India nationwide tender for a plagiarism checker to be provided to all universities in India. This tender was developed and the initiative was taken by the Minister of Education in India in order to improve education quality. This was a huge thing for Urkund, and we hope to also give a strong positive impact to education quality in India. Today we have rolled out to around 700 universities, and we are aiming at rolling out to all 1,045 universities in India in short. Why, when we meet customers, the argument for them to choose Urkund or switch from a competitor system to Urkund used to be these one of these 6 arguments here. Ease of use is definitely a very important aspect. So our institutions, they do get a good return on their investment in buying an Urkund license. In that, Urkund is a system that is actually easy to use, that they will use a lot, and hence save the teachers a lot of time. We'll also have a very competitive pricing. So when you meet the customers out there and you compare pricing to our competitors, and you also keep in mind the quality product we provide and the package you offer them, it's hard to find a better option. We are customer focused. We have our customer success team and tech support team based here in Sweden, serving all customers around the globe. Also serving you at AFL should there be any inquiries from the customers that you wouldn't be able to respond directly to. The Urkund system is very stable. We see very little downtime. So the system barely never goes down. Part of what makes it extra stable in case there is a breakdown is that we support plagiarism submission over email. So you are not dependent on needing to access the Urkund web inbox or use any integration. You can always use the email functionality. Urkund is also been considered in many tests to be the most effective plagiarism detection system at finding plagiarism. One reason to that is that we include a very low rate of false positives in the reports. What is a false positive? That is something that is marked as suspected plagiarism, but it cannot actually be deemed to be plagiarism. Like this example here, one of our competitor systems, including the word D into the total percentage scoring of the plagiarism report. Our algorithms are smart enough to only include sections of text that you could actually deem being plagiarism. Our philosophy is to provide the best, most efficient tool for educators to help them counteract plagiarism. So, as mentioned, ease of use is highly prioritized for us, but we also prioritize to be fair to the education system. Hence, we are not selling any single user licenses. We only sell subscriptions to institutions and corporations. Why is that? That is because selling individual licenses means that you also sell to ghostwriters and essay mill industry. They for sure sign up, and we do get inquiries from those organizations to buy an Urkund license. They sign up to plagiarism checker in order to plagiarism check before they sell their text to any student. So we value that very high, that institutions can feel trust for Urkund system. Also, we don't claim to give the final plagiarism decision, so to speak. We only, the percentage that our analysis show is only an indication of if there has been plagiarism. We are number 2 globally in terms of size, and we see a really strong growth rate in the number of institutions that are choosing Urkund. This year, I think it's around 35% increase from previous years, and the years before that, we've been at around 25% growth rate. We have grown our team very much. The last 1.5 years, we tripled the number of staff here that are based here in Stockholm, in Sweden. Here we also have our development taking place all in-house. We are investing a lot in the product, and in customer related departments like customer success and sales. So the 2 aspects we are prioritized when it comes to investments are the product and customer care. In order to describe what Urkund is in a few number of words, it's a 2-step analysis approach. So basically, the students submit the document, and after a couple of minutes, the teacher click the link to the analysis report to see if there has been plagiarism occurring. Submission can happen in 3 different types of way. Email, as I mentioned, the student just attach the document that to be checked in an email and send it to the teacher's Urkund analysis email address. And the teacher access the report via a link in an email that they receive. Submission can also happen via any of our integrations to the learning management systems, for example, Moodle. It can also happen via direct upload on our web inbox that you access over your via your web browser. Once the student has submitted a document, the plagiarism text matching is happening. This is when the core of our system, the AI algorithms start working. They index the text of the student submission, and then it identifies the key words and section of text to search for in 3 different types of sources, on the free internet, in our internal database, which consists of previously submitted documents, or any indexed database that we've indexed from our customers that they want to have searched. Or the third type of source is indexed material from journals. We have gone into agreements, and this is part of the extensive investments we've done in signing licenses to plagiarism search or text match towards some of the world's largest publishers and their journals. The time of analysis is around 3 minutes, but it depends on the size of the document. Internet is the most important source. We see that at least 60% of plagiarism is done towards sources on internet. I think that's natural. It's the first place a student would go to find text to copy. And then it's equally divided between copying from other students' work and from published journals. It is a growing global issue, plagiarism. But as mentioned, what is also a growing issue is the ghostwriting industry. So Urkund product also help in that issue, and increasingly we will with some new product features that we will release. I will present to you. Looking at product development and the investments we are doing, we will soon release our cross-language detection, which allows you to identify plagiarism even though text has been translated by the student from the original source. We will demo that new functionality for you actually. We are developing right now something we call author recognition function that is related to identifying ghostwriters actually. So this will allow you to identify the style of the text that has been written, and hence you can also, our system can indicate, is it the same person? Is it the actual student that has written this text, or do we see traces of another author in this text? As mentioned, we have invested in, and we will continue to invest in growing our database with published material and journals, going into more agreements with some of the world's largest publishers. But also, as mentioned, the most important source is the internet. So we are also focusing a lot on improve our so-called crawlers that crawl the open internet and index to our database all sorts of content on the internet that can be relevant to copy from for a student. So we have, if you compare our system to our best competitor, our database is on par with their, at least as big. It's hard to put an exact number on, and it depends on how you measure. But since we've been around since the year 2000 already, we have a very vast database of all sorts of sources, documents. As mentioned, we just released a new View 7 analysis interface. You can see an example there up to the right in that picture. That's View 7 View, the new analysis report view. We are working on a new administrative interface. Ursa is the administrative package called. And that gives the customer access to what you will give access to our new administrative interface that you can see down to the right there, which gives you insights to statistics, etc. Integrations are important for customer. They want to stay in their learning management system environment, for example, Moodle, and use add-on tools like Urkund without interrupting their workflow when it comes to handling assignments. So we put a lot of priority into developing the best integrations that gives a seamless and easy to use experience for the teachers and students. And we have, we cover the world's largest learning management systems, but we also cover smaller local systems. And we look to expand and integrate to more systems. So we are very happy to receive any advice from you on which systems we should integrate into. Here's just a overview of our sales organization here at Urkund that are very keen to collaborate with you. I think the markets you are working in correlates to the markets that myself and Linnea are working in. So I'm responsible for Asia and Linnea for Middle East and Africa, as well as Oceania. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us personally if you have any questions. That was a short presentation about Urkund as a company and our philosophies. The teacher in center, and we want to establish a trust with the institutions for us as a plagiarism detection system provider. I will hand over to Linnea now to give a demo of our new interface.
Yes, so I will switch the view and I will jump into the web browser to do a live demo. Let's see, I actually do not have the version with the cross-language plagiarism detection, but we could send out a link or screenshots for you to take a look at that, of course. So I wanted to give you a brief introduction to the analysis report where the teacher or the student as well, but mainly the lecturer can do the assessment whether plagiarism has occurred or not. So just as Henning mentioned, there are three ways, main ways of using, let's see, maybe I can actually jump into the new one so you can see the cross-language plagiarism detection system. That could be more interesting to see since we recently updated this. Let's do it once again. Okay, so anyway, so we this is where the teacher will be redirected from a link that is provided either in the learning management system or in the email or in the web inbox, depending on how they have been submitting and using Urkund. And through this link, they will be redirected to this view, which is the user interface. And the first page that they arrive to is an analysis overview, where first of all, they can see how many pages long this document is that has been sent into Urkund. And the orange blocks represents a match where we have found text similarity. And this first view, the analysis overview, is supposed to be a first page where the teacher can make a first decision if they want to dig deeper into this report or not. And they can click on these matching blocks to get a first look at the matches, or they can choose to view details and dig deeper into each match. Scrolling down in this same view, there is some further information. Under findings, you will be able to see that we have found 3 blocks of matching text in this document. We have found 2 warnings, and a warning can be text manipulation that is not plagiarism, but another kind of text manipulation. And then we now also can show you our cross-language plagiarism detection functionality that will soon be included for all customers. You will, of course, as a teacher, also see the overall text similarity that we have found in other sources. And in this case, this document, we have found 71% text similarity. There's also a comparison value in order to understand whether this document has a high or a low percentage. And this comparison value is based on this teacher, which we call receiver. So the previous submitted documents that has been submitted to this teacher and the average percentage from these reports. In the future, this will we will change this functionality to the course average, so the lecturer can see the average percentage per course. There's also submission details of who submitted this document. You can download the original document from the student, and there is also some information on when it was submitted and the submission ID for support purposes. So I'm going to show you briefly what it looks like also when digging deeper into this analysis report. You can choose to go to view the entire document by clicking here. And here the teacher will see the full text that is submitted from the student. And each orange block here represents a match, which they can click on to see further information. And then you can go to the next match where we have found text similarity to the next block. And you can go to the next one and go scrolling up again. There are 2 additional tabs where we can have the same information but from a different view. Going into the findings, this will show the lecturer only the matched parts of this document. So there are 3 different kinds of findings, as I told you: matching text, or warnings, or and now also the cross language. And here the teacher can see exactly what has happened to the text. There are a couple of functionalities to highlight everything within quotation marks, all text within brackets, and there's also functionality called detailed text differences, which will highlight differences in text. I can probably show you here. In this match, there's 80% similarity from the student text and the matching text. By highlighting the detailed text differences, the teacher can see differences from the student text in terms of synonyms, or if words have been added or removed.
Yeah, to add there, the yellow markings are synonyms. So if you look closer in the text, the written text by the student to the left, you can see what word has been switched to a synonym. And the markings in red is where words have been deleted from the source text, or where words have been added.
Thanks. So the teacher can work through each highlight one by one and take a look at what possibly has happened here. And in this case, it's a huge match with a source that you find in the bottom that comes from a student assignment, and this represents that it is a student assignment, and it comes from a document that's called Dangers of Diving. And the sources can also be found under the Sources tab, where you can see all the sources where Urkund has found text similarities in. And here they are, you can see how big part of the document that has similarity with the documents. And you can also click on the source to see further information. We have something that is called alternative sources, and that is sources where there is also potential of plagiarism or copied text from with the same kind of text, and you can choose to change the source to an alternative source, from the primary source to an alternative source, if the teacher believes that the primary source is not the correct one. Do you want to add something?
Yes. If you get 100% match of your document, the usual case is that you get a match from the same student's document that they have previously submitted via another channel. If a student is submitting a document, the same document, from the same email address, or in the integration, Moodle integration, for example, submitting the same document several times in the same channel, like in email or in the Moodle integration, they won't get 100% match, because then the system understands that, okay, it's just a draft that was submitted the last time, so it's the last submitted document that should be the only one compared. In the cases where you do get a match, a 100% match of the complete document to the same student's document, is when the student have submitted that document from 2 different channels to the same teacher. So you're sending from email the same document, and you're sending it via the Moodle integration, then you will get 100% match. This is in order to have full transparency and understanding for if plagiarism actually is happening, and avoiding students fooling our system. So what you can do then is to enter sources here and exclude, let's say this was the same student's previously submitted source document, and it showed 100% here, then you can just exclude that here. And okay, now it showed the alternative sources here in different levels, but if you choose the lowest level there, you won't get any of that student's other documents, and the similarity percentage will go down.
I think we got a question, maybe. Let's see the chat if it's about this. Let's see if we can see the.
There's no questions.
Okay.
But I think it's good to pause for a second to see if people understood this, because I know we had a lot of questions about this.
Yeah.
Yes.
A little note. So Henning has just explained how to avoid getting 100% match. If you want to use a system to do a first check, maybe make some changes and do a second check. I know that's not how it's maybe originally designed for, but if, for example, a researcher, before they want to publish it or submit it, they want to check it and they have maybe not put in the right references. So it's under the sources, and you would basically untick the previous document that you've submitted.
Yes.
And that's all it is, really, isn't it? You just tick that box on primary source.
Yeah.
And then change it to the lowest level.
Yeah, depending on what other sources you have here overlapping, but that's the procedure.
Okay. So we do have, could you elaborate some more? Judith is asking. I didn't understand the comparison value. Sorry. Sorry, Judith, I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that. Or maybe.
Okay. Yeah, we have more information about this in a quick start guide, how our system works when submitting the same document, but from different channels and to different receivers. So essentially, the system is built to, if you have a group of students submitting one assignment, and they all do their own works, every single individual, then they will all be compared to each other. So that's why like different submitter IDs will always be compared, but all different submitter channels.
Yeah, Judith is asking about the chart, the bar chart on the landing page.
On the analysis overview.
Yes, I think that's what she means.
So the similarity.
Oh, okay, yeah. Maybe you can explain that again.
The receiver's average could be what they are asking for. And yes, I will explain this again. And so basically we have, for this document, we have a 54% similarity, text similarity from what we have found in different sources. And there is also a comparison value. In this case, we have based this average and this comparison value on the previous submitted documents and the average percentage from the previous submitted documents to a specific receiver. And a receiver is often a teacher. So a teacher has an individual receiver account, and when students send in documents, we add up and put an average on the percentage that is received. And we show this average in order to compare. It can be difficult understanding, is this 54%, is this a lot? Is it over average or is it under average? What do I need to look at? It can be hard to interpret a percentage number just by seeing the number if you don't have anything to compare it with. So we want to help the teacher to understand whether is this over a percentage that is over average or under, and what kind of conclusions can we have from that information. And we know that this is something that we want to develop to make it a course average, and that has been the idea of having a comparison value from start, and that is in the product roadmap of Urkund, to be able to have the average percentage for a specific assignment or a specific course. So you can see if a student has an extremely different average for a specific assignment or a specific course. And that has to do with Urkund's value and mindset of not being able to determine what percentage that is good or bad, what percentage that is plagiarism or not, because that is something that we usually talk about depends on the assignment. If it's an assignment where you should have used references and you should include a specific journal, then the percentage will probably be higher than if you're writing a novel, for example, where you're supposed to write everything with your own words. So it's something to have a comparison value with, and to understand if this specific report is stands out from the other reports. I hope that this makes sense, but if it doesn't, then please reach out to me and I will try to explain it again.
Thanks. I think that makes sense. I think it's possibly sometimes the word receiver that's a little bit, you know, people don't know what it means, but it's that teacher who received documents from different students. It's the average for the documents submitted to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yes, and that is good feedback because we need to understand how you interpret, of course, the different functionalities. So we're always looking into how we can improve and how we should communicate the
maybe even just like a little mouse over that, like when you go with your mouse over the word, it would come up with explanation or something like that.
Yeah, so that's great feedback, Romy. We appreciate it very much.
Okay, and then there's some questions about the warnings, but I think you're going to talk about that anyway. So
yeah,
I'll let you get on. Sorry.
You wanted to add something, Henning?
Yeah, regarding help to understand the report, we actually have a good intuitive or interactive Urkbot down to the left, learn more, and this is a step-by-step guide guiding you around and to the different features. Just wanted to mention that that can be a good start for the first time using the system.
And we also have a help button up to the right corner where the one assessing this report can click here and start a help tour where we walk through each functionality, and it's based on this specific report. So you can see some tips from this Urkbot and some recommendations on how to interpret this specific report. So that's actually a great way to a great tool to get some help in getting started. I'm going to jump into the warnings as we got a question about it and try to not spend too much more time, and so we can have some further questions. So I showed you the entire document and I showed you the findings in for the matching text. Warnings is also something that actually we haven't seen many of the competitors of ours having such functionality. And what we have based this on is the history of what we have seen students trying to circumvent plagiarism detection through different smart ways. And I can show you one example that we detect and that we show to the teacher as a warning. In this case, there's a clever student that has put in X's in between the words, and then they color them in white. So when they hand in the paper, it looks like a regular sentence, and we will not find any plagiarism, of course, as well. However, we have a functionality in our algorithm that will detect these extremely long words that where students or someone has tried to trick the system. So that is one type of warning that we detect and that we show to the lecturer. Another kind of warning that we will also highlight is, in this case, you see some words that are highlighted here in purple. And what you may not see is that some of the letters have been replaced from another alphabet, from the Russian alphabet, for example. So this is also something that we have from experience seen doing to try to trick and circumvent the plagiarism system. And in this case, it looks like an O, but it's actually not an O from the Latin alphabet. It's from another alphabet, and we will also warn the teacher or the assessor whether there's any suspicions in terms of characters in the text. So those are two examples of the warnings that we will show. Anything you want to add?
Yes, the third new feature is the cross-language detection. We need to jump into our beta report here to see the examples of that. Here, cross-language, you click that and you'll see what has been translated. In this case, the student has copied from a Swedish source, a web source, so it's Swedish Wikipedia here. How it's built right now in beta version is that if you hover over the text like this, you can see specific words. What is the counter parts words to that in Swedish? Dived is dök in Swedish. As you see, the stronger red color to the right there. And this also gives a plagiarism percentage that will be added to the total percentage in the future. Right now in beta version, you only see it separately here. And the languages we have developed so far, we will release, aim to release into all functionality to be able to detect translate the text from any language, but the ones we will release now in the first version is Danish, Dutch, English, French, German, Spanish, and Swedish. So when translated text has been across any of these languages, it will be detected.
Yeah, and we will of course improve and continue to develop this functionality. We have our developers are working with it, and as of now it's in beta, as you see, and hopefully we will soon be able to release it to all our existing and new customers. Yes, so the final thing that we wanted to show you, that we know that within the IFOL agreement, the Ursa minor is included, and that is the Urkund administration, statistics and administration tool. So before moving over to any further questions, I want to show you quickly the functionalities for Ursa. So Ursa in general is, let's see if we can get it. Yeah, if I can get it in presentation. Okay, so Ursa is something that is included in the IFOL package. And Ursa stands for Urkund System and Administration, and it is sold and offered together with the Urkund Plagiarism Prevention System license. And we have one of the levels of Ursa is called Ursa Minor, which is the one that you will need to, the only one that you need to think about. We also have a level that is called Ursa Major, which includes further functionalities. However, for Ursa Minor, this means that the institutions that purchase Urkund to check for plagiarism, they will also be able to administrate and see statistics and help internally at the university. And the functionalities within Ursa Minor is what you see here. So the administrator that has access to Ursa, they can create user accounts for teachers, so they can create individual email addresses for teachers to get started. And also the web inbox and web application accounts. That is something that then the administrator can do. They can edit any receiver accounts, as we say, but that would be a teacher account. So for example, if a new teacher starts, or a teacher that ends their position at the institution, the administrator can then remove or add new teachers. They can also make some small edits within the institution account that we call a unit. So they can send passwords and user credentials to the teachers and the ones that will be using Urkund. And let's see if I forget something here with Ursa Minor. They can also see statistics of the usage. That doesn't say here, but so you can see, the administrator can see how many documents have been sent in, which month of the year, and this can be actually very interesting information to see the usage of Urkund, how many documents are being sent in, and which at what time of the year. Anything more about Ursa?
Yeah, I think it would be good to just show where you log in to things via our web page.
Yes, of course. So I'm actually going to jump into Urkund's webpage now, because here is where
Our new webpage.
Our new webpage that we launched last week. And here is where teachers, administrators will be able to log in the web application. And there's a button up on the right, login. And here are two alternatives for administrators and
Sorry, Linnea, I think it's not, we still see your
Oh, really?
presentation.
Oh, good.
But you're on the wrong tab, maybe.
Okay. Let's see here.
Yes, that's it. Yep. It was just
okay.
new PowerPoint. That's
Then our little presentation of our new webpage wasn't a success. So I am now in our Urkund's web page and site, and here the administrators, teachers, and also students can access Urkund. And there is a possibility as an administrator to log in by clicking here through the website, and here they access Ursa. This is the first page that they will get, and we provide the username and the password. It is now in Swedish here. I apologize for that, and my login credentials. So this is where I can actually show you the first page of how it looks like. This is where they would log into Ursa, the administrators, and they will have their name of their school here, which they can click on to be able to edit any teacher accounts or see statistics. So that's also just a very brief introduction to Ursa. It can be good to know what functionalities the administrator have, but please let me know if you have any further questions.
I just want to add that everyone who renewed this year wouldn't actually have access to this. It's just if you subscribe under the new agreement from 2019, it's included in those prices. So I imagine if someone who has renewed at the old prices, and if they want to have access to this for the end of their term, you could maybe give them a price of how much it would cost to add this on, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you eye on the questions. We have a question about how many percentage, what would you say is standard in terms of percentage? And I think we talked a little bit about this, looking at this similarity percentage on the analysis overview. I think this has maybe come from someone who joined a little bit later. So we talked about it to say that it depends on what type of document it is. If it's an academic document and you have a lot of references, it tends to be higher. But then you can compare yourself with looking at this average of what other people have received that have submitted to the same professor.
Yeah.
I think we've discussed that a little bit. What other functionality is there that we've missed so far that we've maybe not talked about yet? We've covered everything.
Yes, we haven't demoed the web inbox yet, where you log in via web page for teacher and student. But that we might host in a separate webinar as well. Okay. Or should we show that really quick?
It's up to you. We're recording, so anyway, if people want to drop off, they'll drop off. But while we have you here, if you're okay for time, maybe you want to show it briefly.
Of course. So the web inbox is also accessed through Urkund's website, and the web inbox can be used both by teachers and by students. They can send documents and receive documents, and it's you access it through the web app that it says here. So I'm going to change the language now, and let's see which one is the correct one. And now I have logged into what we call the web inbox, and this is always something that can be used by teachers, and we provide the teachers the user credentials and the login credentials for this. And this is basically as a regular email inbox. It works in the same way, so you can see the different documents that has been sent in to your teacher account. And if a student has sent in an email, attached a document in an email, sent it to if you are a teacher, if they sent it to you, you can log into your web inbox and you will see the student document and the percentage. And this is a clickable link, this percentage box. In this case, there's 100% similarity. And you can click on it and you will be directed to the analysis report. Here will all the documents end up that is submitted to you as a teacher. You can also choose to upload documents yourself if you receive documents from students that has not yet been analyzed by Urkund. You can click here and then you need to select to which analysis address, and it's pretty straightforward. I hope that you can drop files and upload documents.
So it's essentially a replica of an email browser.
Mm-hmm.
And what is essential is to know the analysis address that is belonging to the teacher that should do the assessment. So we set up, our system sets up a specific analysis address for all receivers or / teachers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think I wonder if in some of the IFL countries, it's the teachers who would submit the documents themselves rather than the users, like the students sending it to the specific email address. I think that's a really good point that you picked that out again, that the idea is that, you know, each teacher has this analysis email address, so the teacher should give that address to their group of students, and the students should send the document directly to this email address. So at the top you see it as linnea.rydberg.demo@analysis.urkund.com. So each teacher would have their own email address, yeah, and the students should email it directly to this address. And then you wouldn't have, the idea is that they would just send it once and they're marked on that, but then I guess it's up to teacher to say, go and make some changes and submit it again, and then the teacher would know how to untick the original document, so make sure they don't get the 100% match.
Yes,
yeah.
That's correct.
But then describing that again, they wouldn't get that 100% match to that previously sent in draft if the student submit the document to the same teacher analysis address and from the same student email address.
They wouldn't have that, they wouldn't get the match?
No, because then it's considered to be just another draft.
Okay. It's only if the teacher submits it themselves?
If it's whenever it's the same submitter and the same receiver,
yeah.
So we often talk about the student as a submitter and the teacher as the receiver. If it's the same submitter address that's submitting several drafts to the same receiver address, we will Urkund will interpret it as drafts, so we will not have 100%. It must be the same submitter address to the same receiver address. If it's the same document from another submitter address, so from my friend that submits it, then it will be 100% match. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. I would like to suggest that, I know you had this kind of masterclass on duplicates for the old UI, that maybe someone would create like a, you know, a similar document for the new UI and talk about those things specifically. I don't know if IFL countries are market where this comes up more, but I think it might be due to that the students are maybe not submitting directly to the teacher, which is fine if that's how they choose to do it. But I think it would be useful to have like a walkthrough, visual and with words, because I think sometimes even on a webinar, it's hard you know, to follow what everybody is saying. So
yeah,
that would be great.
yeah, that's something that we can look into. We have the old one, as you mentioned, for the old user interface, but we should, yeah, I will
That's
look.
what I send to people when I get questions about it.
Yeah, so that's if we don't already have it, which I don't think we do for the new user interface, then that is something we should have. So
yeah, thanks. There's another question here about adding other languages to the cross language. They're asking about Burmese, if that is a plan to add what other languages are.
Yes, we don't have any time frame or time plan for when new languages will be added, but we definitely aim to have all language that our customers are possibly using included.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know we've kept you for quite a while. Let's just wait, just see if there's any.
No problem. If there are any further questions.
I can't see anything in the Q&A. So we just pause a minute to see if there's any other questions from anyone. We've got about 25 people now, so there's a few more that joined.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So yeah. No, I think it's a good overview of a bit of everything, and we might well have other questions. And if I think we've already put the training materials that you have, and I know there's videos on YouTube as well that we had links to anyway. So I will just double check that those have been updated. Okay, there has another question. Yeah, no, we check the paper first. The file was on 57, so add the reference. After that, I check it again. We need to get a decrease, how to manage it. I think this is actually not about duplicates, but about references. So if you, maybe you can talk about that. How does it with quotation marks? Because if you use quotation marks and you have a reference, the quoted text would still show up as a kind of plagiarized, potential plagiarized. It shows up as 100% match, doesn't it?
Yes.
So exactly. There is this kind of quotation mark feature, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's what we should use in that case?
Yeah. So what is per default on? Can you still see our web browser?
Yes, I can. Yep. Thank you.
Per default, we will always highlight what's in quotes or brackets. Bracket here. We see we should have a quote here somewhere. There. So it will all be included, even though this might be a correct citation of another source. It will be included as a suspected plagiarism. This is in order to have a bulletproof system that cannot be fooled by the author of the submitted text by just adding quotation marks or brackets. So what we do instead is we highlight those. You can choose to unhighlight. And should this whole section be within quotation marks, then you can choose to exclude this from analysis.
Okay.
Percentage will change.
But if you untick the quotes box, it would do the same thing? It would exclude it?
No. And this is part of why it doesn't make sense, or why it's not important to include that in percentage, is that one shouldn't have specific levels of disciplinary actions depending on what percentage. It doesn't really matter. So either the teacher should always enter the report and identify, okay, is this correct quotation or not, and then they know. But yes, on that note, Romy, we are actually looking into to have some functionality that can exclude from percentage, but only within quota brackets.
Because even if the same disciplines, even within the same class, some people would tend to paraphrase and put in a reference, whereas others might give a direct quote and put a reference, and they're still, I guess, copying. You know, their influence is academic writing, so you need to make reference, you need to copy, but those that have done a direct copy would end up with a higher percentage. And I guess that's where this overall similarity average is quite useful, isn't it?
Yes. And for some assignments or theses, it might be good to have a high percentage, because the assignment for the student is to a high extent quote the right author. But then it's also good that it is highlighted for the teachers to see if it's correctly done. Yeah, and to what authors.
Okay. Well, I think we might get some more questions coming in after, which I'll get back to you about. I think I've had a question about training in the Myanmar language. What we might be doing with Myanmar is perhaps do another webinar, if you would have time, with the coordinators who themselves will be training the librarians, and maybe just do more like, what should you train the professors on? What should you train the librarians on? If that's possible.
Yeah, definitely. We can definitely have separate presentations and webinars for specific markets and for specific,
like a trainer type.
Yeah, definitely. And we will send out as much material as possible, but and of course help whenever you have discussions with institutions. We will support in answering questions.
Okay, great. Okay, I think we'll wrap up just now. If you have any other questions or any requests, then please email me. I'll put my email there and I'll collect all the questions and send them to you guys.
Yeah, and I hope that you all have our email addresses, me and Henning. I just saw that we got a question about a visit to Kenya next year, so I would like to have a separate discussion about that with that specific. Yeah, with Arnold here, that would be great. And,
yes, I can put you in touch on.
So either I could reach out or Arnold can reach out, and we can have a separate talk about that. Okay. Yeah, anything else, Romy?
No, I think that's all for now. I'll connect you by email to Arnold, and if any other questions come in, I'll let you know.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for your time.
Very much.
I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you for participating.